Hey guys, another week, another game dev vlog, and today is the 31st of December, meaning it's the last day of the year. So what better time than now to go over everything that happened in 2017 for me and make some goals as to what I would like to happen in 2018. So, a good place to start is of course the very beginning of the year, and at that time I had a blog up on my website and I was going to be posting on there fairly frequently. So something I posted on the 1st of January was a post called A New Year, A New Chance. And in this post I listed some of the things that I had accomplished in 2016 and my goals for 2017. So as far as my goals for 2017, I had listed that I wanted to produce at least one song a month. That didn't quite work out, although I did post two songs near the beginning of the year, Digital Sunrise and Moving Up, and those are of course available on my channel. As far as drawing a lot more, especially digital art, I did do a little bit of that, not as much as I had hoped. But actually just last night I ended up finishing a drawing for a small contest. Don't know how well it's going to do in the contest, but we'll see. Now I also said I wanted to release a few games ranging from small to fairly significant. Now I didn't actually end up being able to work on one of the bigger games that I was hoping to be able to work on this year, but I did release a couple of Ludum Dare games, including one working with my brother Alex, also known as Kentaya, and ended up working on some other stuff relating to that, but I'll get to that in a little bit. I also said I wanted to keep my blog up to date with all my current thoughts, ideas, and projects. I did a decent job of that, but then I eventually switched over to the idea of doing these vlogs. These videos ended up taking the place of what my blog was going to be, so I would actually say I did succeed on that point. Now, where did I go from there? Well, I ended up releasing two songs, the two that I mentioned earlier, and in April I made my first Ludum Dare game of the year, Extraction Chapter 0. Well, actually there was an initial version of it that I released for Ludum Dare, and then I released a more polished up and more finalized version of it. And of course, being Chapter 0, it is the pilot episode of an interesting series that I would like to work on at some point. Now, I think it was actually just before that I ended up getting a drawing tablet, and this tablet has turned out really helpful, and it's allowed me to do the drawings like what I mentioned earlier, the one I just entered in the contest. But on June 4th is when I started posting these videos, and I've been keeping up doing them every week since then, skipping only 2 weeks, and 1 week I did 2 in a row. But overall I've been fairly consistent about it, and I think it was a very good decision to start doing these when I did. Now, at the point of that first video, I had just finished up Extraction Chapter 0, the polished version of it, and I was about to start work on Rotate. Now, at that point I was still working with my own game engine, but it was an earlier form of it. It wasn't as polished up, I wasn't quite as experienced with Hakes and Hakes Develop, so I didn't do everything in the most efficient way, but overall it was working alright. I was having a little bit of technical difficulties at some point with the physics and all that being a little problematic, but overall I was making decent progress. Now, around that time I finished up school for the year, and actually that was my last year of school. In case that doesn't line up with what you're used to, it's because I'm homeschooled, we do things a little bit differently. But a few weeks later I ended up starting work on another project, a small experiment called Hakes EE, and it was an experimental replica of a game called Everybody Edits, a game that I started playing, back in late 2010, I think? And it's a basic multiplayer Flash game that I was experimenting with an HTML5 version of it, and I was at first using OpenFL as the game engine, then I moved to Phaser, and then I decided to move it over to my own Frost engine. And it was definitely an interesting experience, and there's the potential that more may come of it in the future. I don't know. But it did lead to some interesting interactions. Ended up meeting John, who's now a friend of mine, and we worked together on an interesting project called Blockworks. Now, Blockworks came about in a very interesting way, because after I had gotten Hakes EE out, it was interesting to see at that point what people thought of it, but I really didn't think I could do anything more. I had done my experiment, and that was it. It was up to the staff of the game if they wanted to follow my ideas or not. But since I didn't really feel I could do anything to help there, I thought, why not apply that to my own idea for a game? And I've had an idea for a similar type of game, but more based around mechanisms. So that actually led to us creating the game Blockworks. I was working on it with my brother Alex, and John as the server-side programmer. I was handling all the client-side programming, Alex was handling the art, graphics, design, all that stuff. Now, around the time of starting on that, I worked on creating a new version of the Frost engine. This time, a lot more efficient, a lot cleaner code, because now I had a lot more experience working in Hakes and Hakes Develop. But then, as we were just starting to work on the game, planning some things, decided to pause on that because Ludum Dare came up yet again, and we decided it would be a good chance to really test out the new version of the Frost engine. So me and Alex ended up working together on a game called ChargeBot. It was actually his idea initially. I was going to do something else, but then we decided to work together and made that game. Now, my game engine ended up doing quite well, didn't have many problems at all making ChargeBot, and we really did learn a lot working on that game. ChargeBot also ended up being our most polished Ludum Dare entry ever, although people didn't quite see it as the most unique game, which is understandable. It's pretty similar to some games that have already existed. But it was definitely a pretty big milestone for us. We made something fairly polished in a new game engine that I had made from scratch, and we made it in like 3 days, and it turned out pretty decent. It's actually a decent game. But anyway, then we returned to Blockworks and got that to the point where it was ready to release a few weeks later. Now, the release was a little rough. The game wasn't even really playable within the first couple hours of release because there was a major issue with the game. We had only tested it in the testing environment, not in the live server, and it turned out that the live server was running a different version of the .NET framework. Yeah, that did not go well. But we definitely learned from that experience. So anyway, after we'd gotten that version out, what we were planning to do was a few more updates to the game to improve it, add more functionality, and just steadily build the game. But I was starting to get some doubts about whether or not it was the best product to work on at that time, because I'd also wanted to get to the point of actually making some money this year, and it really didn't seem like it would be the best idea to just jump right into that, and I was really having trouble figuring out what I should do at that point. So I decided to slow down for a moment, rethink what I was doing, and ended up returning to the idea of finishing up Rotate by the end of the year. So we decided to pause on Blockworks, and it's remained like that since then, and on Rotate I decided that I was going to scrap what I was originally doing on the old version of the Frost engine. I was going to simplify the game, make it a lot easier to make it much more manageable for my current skills and experience. So I worked on that for like about 2 months or so, I believe, and it was going pretty well. But as I was getting closer and closer to getting the game done, I was also getting more stressed out about the timeline and the crunch, trying to make sure I got everything that I wanted to be in the game in there. And I also needed to leave enough time for updating my Christmas mod from Minecraft this year. And it was getting to the point where if I had actually decided to go through finishing the game and getting it out when I was planning to, it really would not have been the game that I wanted to release in the first place. So I ended up deciding to pause on it until the beginning of 2018. So it took a day or two to actually come to that conclusion, but I decided to pause on that and work on the Christmas mod. So I worked on the update for that. First I ported it to 1.12, then I did an update to add more functionality to all 3 versions that were available, and I got that done a little later than I intended, but oh well, it's done. So since Christmas, I've been kind of taking a break to think about what I'll be doing next year and just get out of the habit of stressing out about rushing to finish things. So looking over 2017, it's been a really interesting year. Yes, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm actually making any money this year. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that I did turn 18 in November, so now I'm an adult, I guess. But looking back on this year, it felt like I was a bit all over the place on what I was working on. I wasn't really focused on what I thought I needed to do at the time. But I would say, looking back, that everything has gone the way it needed to. If I did get Rotate done earlier in the year, then would I have been ready to be making money by that point? If I didn't do Hakes EE, then I wouldn't have met John and we wouldn't have made Blockworks. It would have been a very different year, and it would have been a very different outcome. So I would say that I am happy with how 2017 has gone, even though it has not gone the way that I wanted it to, but it has gone the way that it needed to go. But in 2018, things are going to be a little different. In January, I will be finishing up Rotate. I will get it released, I'll get paid for that, and I'll get ready to build my new computer. I've been doing a lot of research on that, coming up with part lists, thinking about what functionality I'd like for my system to have. So now it's going to be time to get the money so I can actually get that build done. It's going to be really nice to have a proper computer here. This laptop has been really nice to have, but it can only do so much. So it's going to be a very large boost to productivity to be working on a system that's actually going to be able to keep up with everything that I throw at it. So there's also a few other projects that I'm going to be working on in 2018, some of which I don't know that I want to talk about just yet. I think I might leave some of this for next week's vlog. Also, of course, I mentioned that I'll be getting back to Rotate in January. I'll be starting in that probably tomorrow. I don't know if I'll actually get any work done on the game, but I will look over the game and think about where I'd like to take it. 2018 is going to be an interesting year. 2017 has definitely been a year of preparation. I can definitely say that much. 2018? I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I think that is going to have to be it for today, so if you enjoyed this video, maybe learned something, be sure to leave a like, maybe a comment, and definitely subscribe for more content from me in 2018. So yeah, I'll see you around. Goodbye.